Good morning, everyone. We're coming back to you with our December Learning Quest, which is going to be all about coding to celebrate next week's Hour of Code. I'm Leslie Prawley-Keene. I'm Instructional Technology Consultant with Prairie Lakes AEA.
I'm Mike Anderson, also an instructional technology consultant with Prairie Lakes AEA.
Welcome, I am Erin Olson, and I am an instructional technology consultant with Prairie Lakes AEA. Thank you for joining us. First, we would like to talk about the ability to sign up for emails to be connected with what we are doing each month, and you can do that at connecting@plaea.org, plaea.org. Also, each month we have a Google Hangout to discuss what the month's quest will be, just like we are today. You can look for more information the end of this month about what will happen in January and continue on into the spring. And of course, just a reminder on our website that what we are doing is aligned and has core standards in mind, but that alignment happens because of you. So these are suggestions we give, and you can find those resources on our website. So all of that information is there, and what we're talking about is also there for you as a resource. To talk about this month's quest, written with code. Now, this is an interesting one for me. In fact, probably the one that I am most excited about because I know I'm going to learn a lot with this. This will be my first adventure with code, and you can see we have a guest with us, Mike. He is here to help in this adventure as well. So, written with code. Coding is going to serve as a learning adventure, helping nurture problem-solving skills, logic, and creativity. And that comes from the Hour of Code, which we are connecting with. This learning quest connected to the Hour of Code honors the language and power of computer programming. No matter the curricular goal, connection, and/or experience, students can participate. The Written with Code quest speaks to the importance of computer science by introducing students to the endless possibilities of coding and creation.
So we're actually going to be asking you to look at some of the Hour of Code resources this month, and we really suggest that you prepare yourself by digging into those resources and actually work through some of the activities that we have prior to asking your students to do so. It won't make you an expert by any means, but it'll at least give you some familiarity with what they'll be going through and working through. Then we'll ask you to explore the Hour of Code activities. So if you go to something like code.org or one of the other resources that we've provided for you for getting started, you will see all kinds of teacher resources. You'll see student resources and the ability to sign up to participate as well. So that's where we can get started. Then we'll go ahead and have you dig into starting those with your students. You might consider storyboarding to help you and your kids organize your ideas. What do you want to create? What do you want to build? And there are some challenges within established Hour of Code activities, like maybe you build a greeting card. That's something that I did last year in a place that I started with this. So choose what you want to do, how you want to do it, and then capture your coding experience. So I'd really love to have a picture or the final creation, maybe a video or a story explaining your final product and what you've created with coding and how that went for you. So we've created, as we have in the past, a place for you to share that experience on our website. We want you to publish, as always, your captured coding creation, because sharing that with a public audience is such a huge part of each of our connecting creativity endeavors. And then finally, share that link with us, which you'll find a link for on our website at our Written with Code page on rethinkredesign.org.
Cool, all right. So as far as resources, we have tons of them. And the nice thing about coding is that most of the apps, the software you can get, the web-based coding websites are free. In fact, I can't even think of one you have to pay for, so that's a nice piece to this. First off, we've talked about code.org quite a bit, so I'm just going to share my screen so you can see what that looks like. And code.org is chock full of resources that you can use in your classroom. In fact, they've just now added in the fall here where you can teach, and they have courses that you can take your students through. And so if you check out that page, there's actually a curriculum that you can follow. But also, you can explore a bunch of these different apps and websites through code.org, and you just click on the Learn tab, and it'll take you in, and there are multiple pieces you can go through, all of them very engaging for students, different ability levels. You can see at the bottom here, make a Flappy game. So you've heard of Flappy Bird, you can make your own Flappy Bird game. So some very cool resources there. On code.org, it will take you to some other websites, including one which is called Scratch. This comes from MIT, and I learned about Scratch almost 10 years ago now. This is a big deal in the coding world and really kind of sparked the fire that we now know is coding. And so Scratch is like a button-based coding program, so it's drag and drop. So here's one I just created now in about 2 minutes, and I can make this cat over here move up and down and left and right. Right, and you can see on the right side, this is where I created the program. I just threw some buttons in here just by dragging them over like this and attaching them to what I've already created. Very easy to do, accessible. Probably, I'm going to say kindergarten, first graders could maybe handle this all the way up to seniors in high school. And it's very deep. You can do a lot of different things with it. So that's a pretty awesome option. It's web-based. I think it works on everything, including iPads. And there's some others. There's Lightbot, which is geared more for younger kids. And again, it allows you to do some drag and drop programming and clicking on buttons to create a program for your characters to follow. And beyond that, there are tons of websites. Like I said, there's Code Academy on the iPad. There's Hopscotch. There's Code Academy again. There's Daisy the Dinosaur, Move the Turtle. I mean, if you just search for coding apps, you're going to find a ton of them. And for the most part, they're very accessible to students. We're not talking about the coding that looks like a foreign language that you're writing. We're talking about entry points where students are just pulling pre-made buttons and attaching them and starting to understand those basic computer science concepts. So it's a very exciting time because coding is just taking off, and things are getting easier and easier for people to access, get into, and to be able to create with.
One of the things that we'd really like to ask you to do is encourage reflection with your kids. This is hard when you are just starting, and it really is user-friendly in terms of the software, but just building that understanding with kids. You know, I'll tell you, my 6-year-old, my 8-year-old, I know Mike has young kids that dig into this. They can do it. I've watched my kids successfully do it. But it can be frustrating if you're not naturally inclined to thinking that way. And my 6-year-old son can take off while my 8-year-old daughter struggles because he just thinks that way. But we want to encourage the opportunity for students to think through that and talk about those struggles, how they're part of the process. We want to encourage you to capture that as a means of really digging in and talking about what learning really is, because this is one of those places where, you know, one of the buzzwords in education right now is grit, right, and perseverance, and you have to get through that and you have to struggle. And this is one of those places where you're really going to start building on that, in my opinion. Now, Mike might say differently. He's a little more skilled, a lot more skilled than I am. But I really think there's a great opportunity for reflection within this piece.
Absolutely. As far as questions you might have, where does curriculum, where does content fit in with this? And you can do just about anything with coding. You can tell a story. You can have students code a story and hit play and watch it unfold before their eyes. There's a lot of math involved. You could probably see that. But again, it's scalable, so we don't have to talk about the math concepts. We can let them do some kind of trial and error stuff, and then we can enter into those conversations afterwards and talk about how they were making things rotate or flip or move across the screen. And we can talk about coordinate grids and things like that. So just because all that math is built in there, we don't have to front load that. We don't have to make that the focal point in the beginning. But yeah, so storytelling, we can hit the math. I've seen students who created, I'm trying to think of the word, for science, they created like the life cycle of a butterfly, and their coding went right through that. Their program showed the life cycle of a butterfly. So it's a great way for students to demonstrate their learning as well. If you only have a few devices in your room, or maybe only one, that's okay. We can set up a coding station or a center and have students rotate through that. As I said, a lot of these are free, so if students have devices at home, they can download these, they can work on them at home. The Scratch website, they can sign up for an account, and then they can work on that at school. They can go home and continue to work on the same project. So a lot of options for that. But there are definitely some strong content, some strong curricular connections, as well as it's just a lot of fun.
Well, if there are there any questions for Mike before we close?
We don't have any questions right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we encourage you to get in touch with us, and everything that Mike and Leslie said, I would echo, because I'm going to go through this process for the first time. So you will see my fails and success as I will reflect and share the process and my end result, because it is the first time I am going to attempt coding with the support of Leslie and Mike. And so know that you have their support as well. And since I'm learning, I would love to support and discuss curricular connections. So please share your students' creation as well as your personalization of the quest. Other teachers can benefit with the work that you're doing. You can get in touch with us at connecting@pla.org, connecting@plaea.org. And of course, we're a resource for you as well. So whether that's coming to your classroom to help facilitate the process or supporting your think through as you work to implement this month's quest. Thank you for joining.
Thanks.